All right, I think that's it. All right, we're live. Hello, everyone. Please report in if you can see and hear me. Good morning. Chun Hong. Right. Let's give everybody about 5 to 10 minutes to stream in. No pun intended. While we're waiting, I'll be setting things up and you can ask me any questions. Good morning, Shaden, Ziting, Chloe. Great to see all of you. If you can hear and see me, yes, very good. Thank you. Please tell me I can hear and see you. All right, great. Okay, let me just connect to my other display so that I can see that my live stream is going well. Great. Great. Oh, hello, Javen. Welcome. Let's see. Okay. Wonderful. All right, that's good to know. All right. Right, I can see 7 of you on so far. That's great. Okay, let me just prime my slides and get them ready. Okay, I can minimize this. Loud and clear, I hope everyone can hear me. All right, great. That's good to hear. Okay, let's give the rest about 5 minutes to kind of stream in and let's get ready. While you're waiting, I'd like to remind all of you to submit your synthesis exercises. Chloe has submitted hers. I've already graded it and returned it to her. Ziting has also submitted hers. I've already graded and returned your corrected copies to you. So please check in on that modal. The rest of you, please remember to complete your synthesis exercise and submit it by the end of today, okay? So I can get a sensing of what are some of the common mistakes and what are the areas of strength that you have for these 4 main groups of synthesis items I've covered in my videos, okay? Let's see now. Let me just get into my stream. All right. All right, I hope you all can see me and hear me quite well. Okay, let's see what else is here. Census reviews. Just want to get to the front. Right, there we go. All right, great. All right, hi JJ. Yes, JJ, I've also marked your submission for your synthesis. Please go and check it out on Edmodo and see what are the mistakes that you've made. Okay, that's great. And what are the areas of strengths? Okay, wonderful. Okay, great. Okay, I will be starting in 5 minutes. Okay, so while you're waiting for me, go check out Edmodo. If you haven't yet viewed the synthesis videos, remember to do them later. There are about 14 questions for you to attempt. They are pretty simple. After you watch the video, you should be able to attempt them with little or no trouble at all. But do be careful. Some of you are making rather careless mistakes. I put it on Word document, so you should be able to kind of cut and paste. And I shouldn't see any transference or copying mistakes, okay? Because we are basically just copying and pasting the answers, but modifying them, all right? So, let's see, okay. Alright, we will be beginning in a couple of minutes time. Let me just wait for the rest. Hello, Cheryl, good morning. Alright, great. Let's see, we have, okay, good, everybody's kind of locked in. Alright, that's wonderful. Okay, just 4 more minutes. We'll begin in 4 minutes at 10:10. I will make this video rather short because it's a beautiful day outside. It's a holiday. I don't want to keep all of you for too long. I'll be covering 2 main areas today. More detail on the comprehension close passage and a little bit on comprehension open-ended questions, alright? We'll be reviewing question-answer relationships and how they help us to extract answers from a passage. I'll be using the same passage today. We will not be looking at the 2016 or 2015 papers that we've already done. We'll leave them aside for now. I'll be using a brand new passage that you've not attempted before so that we can all start afresh, alright? And everybody can follow along with me as I go through this passage. I'll use the same passage for close and I'll use the same passage for comprehension. So we'll be very familiar with the passage by the end of this session, okay? For those of you who just tuned in, I'll be beginning in 3 minutes at 10:10 precisely. And this should take less than an hour, so I'm aiming to finish before 11, alright? So if any of you have appointments after that, that's the time to kind of keep yourself up to about 11 o'clock, alright? So I promise you that I will try my very best to finish before 11 o'clock. That's if there aren't too many questions and responses, okay? Yeah, so along the way, as we are attempting this close passage, I'd like you to really be trying to think of the answer and trying to participate so that it's interactive, all right? Then I can explain to you if your answer is acceptable, why it isn't, and in the course of this discussion, as the rest are tuning in, they can also learn something about some common mistakes that may be made, as well as some techniques that you can employ to minimize these mistakes in your closed passage and in your comprehension open-ended questions, all right? So at this point in time, we are literally 2 teaching days away from your CA2, right? Tomorrow is Tuesday. We have some observers coming from Sinmin Secondary School, so that's 2 periods. That's gone. And then on Wednesday, we have our 4-period session. That's really the last teaching section before we go into CA2s, because the following week is your CA2s on Monday, English, and Thursday and Friday, you guys are off because there's the PSLE oral examinations, right? So Tuesday and Wednesday are literally the only days we have left, okay? So take this chance, the opportunity to ask me any questions. I've returned you your files. I've given you your unit booklets, your comprehension passages, okay? Please review them and ask if there are any questions, okay? So Wednesday, we'll probably be doing a lot more of grammar, MCQ, visual texts, just to let you practice the components that we've not been concentrating on leading up to this CA2, okay? So we'll be doing a little bit more of that. But today, we are going to focus on the comprehension close and the comprehension open-ended questions, all right? Okay, 1 more minute and Mr. Pang will start. Let me just check that more or less everybody. Okay, great. So we have about 12 of you on, and that's only those who are subscribed and registered. I'm sure that there are many more of you watching who don't have an account. The problem with that, of course, is that you're not able to interact and message me on the pop-up chat that's over here, right? So I encourage you to log in through your parents' account, of course, with your parents' supervision, so that you can kind of participate, comment, ask questions, and react to what's going on in the presentation. And I think that it will be a lot more enriching if you are participating, answering, asking questions, and clarifying any doubts you might have along this live stream, okay? So don't be shy. At any point in time, just jump in, ask any questions. I will slow it down for you. I'll explain it for you. Remember, this is a safe environment. We can fail, we can make mistakes, and that's where we learn from, okay? We learn from mistakes, we learn from questions that we might have or doubts that we might have, and not just us, but all of you who are viewing will also learn from these very precious mistakes and not make them in future. Okay, so this is a safe environment. Let's really take this opportunity to ask and clarify. Okay, it's 10:10. I'm going to begin right now. So all of you, please concentrate on what's going on. We are going to begin. So I'm going to talk about making sense of text passages, and I'm going to turn your attention to a slide that I shared with you back in 2018 when you were in primary 4. Those of you who are not with me, this will be new to you, but those of you who are with me, this will look quite familiar, okay, because we did cover some strategies on tackling close passages, okay. So without further ado, let's go into a bit of a review, and then I'll build on that and introduce some new concepts, okay. So today we are going to be looking at close passages first, and in order to tackle close passages, you need to remember the 5 main types of words in English, okay. So remember, our right hand is reserved for our types of words, and our left hand is reserved for our synthesis rules, right? There are 5 synthesis rules, and then there are 5 main types of words in English. So if you can recall with me, what are the 5 main types of words? Okay, that would be really good. Let's see. Good morning, Zilap. Okay, can everybody and anybody very quickly type in the 5 main words that are represented by my thumb, index, ring, forefinger, middle, and my little finger? Okay, so just go ahead and type it into the chat window. I'll give you a few seconds. Let's just take our time and review and think of the 5 main types of words that we have covered up to this point. Wonderful, great, okay. Thank you, Chun Hong, that was really quite quick. Okay. So depending on the speed of your stream, some of you may be hearing me with a bit of a lag. Okay, so I'm very conscious of that lag, so I'm taking my time and I'm basically doing it very slowly so that the stream can catch up with what I'm saying and you guys can respond. Okay, great. Okay, good, right, excellent. Okay, so noun, verb, adjective, adverb, and preposition. Wonderful. And remember the interaction or the relationships between them. Okay, so a noun is described by an adjective, a verb is described by an adverb, right? And the preposition tells me the position of the noun, right? In most cases, that's what it does. So the fingers interact with each other, and this interaction is very important, as you will see in a closed passage, because knowing the relationships between these words will help you to very accurately guess the missing word in the blank in a closed passage, and to a high degree of accuracy be able to determine the type of word it is because it's missing. All right, so you will need that. You will need to look at the contextual clues, and you will need to make meaning of the sentence and the paragraph in order to guess the missing word. All right, so that's what we're going to be doing. Thank you all for your very, very good participation. So let's move on now. Okay, so if you remember, we covered this passage in 2018, and I was explaining to you that we use a 5-step process to arrive at an answer. Each of these 5 steps has its role in determining the missing answers in the blank. Okay, so let's go through this very quickly, and then after this we'll practice the next passage together. Okay, so it was a chilly night. That's contextual clue. It's the context of the passage. Remember, it's going to be at night and it's going to be cold, all right? Then we look at the darkness because it is a nighttime, all right? So it was so dark that it was what for them to make their way around. Okay, so again, here, the darkness plays a part in the answer here. So it was something for them, all right? So if it's dark, then it's hard for them. Okay, and of course, let's move on. My legs were tired. Okay, so they're very tired. So hardly what? So if your legs are tired, you can hardly take another step. And because hardly is an adverb, right, it describes a verb, right? So we know that this is a missing verb here. And over here, this word is an adjective and it's describing how hard it is for them. Okay, so it's hard for them. So this is the noun, this is the adjective, this is the verb, this is the adverb, all right? So the types of words that are next to each other in a sentence, very important, right? So remember clues in each sentence, context of the passage help me to arrive at the answer. Neighboring words, all right? So an adverb is usually the neighbor to a verb that helps me to arrive at the answer being a verb, so I don't put in the wrong form of the word. Okay, and again, annoyed by Duncan's complaints, all right, they decided to allow him to take a. So the word a here is the neighboring word, right? And the word a is an article, all right? Can anyone tell me what comes next to an article? All right. Yes, Cheryl, you are correct, right? You're correct, Zile, that's the answer. But what type of word always marries or pairs with an article? Yes, very good, Chun Hong. A noun, right? So anytime I see a, an, or the next word is going to be a noun of some sort, okay? A brake, a car, an elephant, the people, all right? So yes, very good, well done, okay? So a break is something, all right, that you take when you're tired, okay? So because he was complaining that he was tired, he took a break. So the contextual clue, the neighboring words, the clues in the sentence, and the whole sentence itself gives me an idea about what the answer is going to be, and I can, with a high degree of certainty, be very sure that the answer is indeed the word break, okay? Because it fits in with the neighboring word, and in the sentence, it makes perfect sense, okay? Again, we've learned this just a couple of days ago. I was talking about participles, right? So whenever you have a to next to a verb, right, the verb takes on its base form, all right? So in this case, next to the word to, it's a verb, and the verb takes on the base form, and this base form verb has to deal with the tent. So what do you do with the tent? You pitch a tent, all right? And finally, one final example before we go into our actual practice proper. The two boys were efficient in their work, right? In an hour, their tents were ready. The boys were proud of. So who were the boys proud of? Okay, who were the boys proud of? Because they were very efficient in their work. They were very proud of, right? Themselves, right? This is a demonstrative pronoun. It demonstrates that they are proud of themselves, okay? So do you all understand how the neighboring words can control what appears in the blank and give us some very firm clues about how we can arrive at an answer that is 95% accurate, okay? There'll always be a little bit of uncertainty, but we are very highly confident that if we follow this process, we can arrive at good answers. Again, I stress to everyone the importance of annotation, highlighting, identifying contextual clues, right? If you follow this way, right, in this step, of course, you don't need to label adverb, verb, and all of that, but if you do this, you are checking and confirming your answers at the same time. If you do this, at the end of the passage, you have a very high degree of confidence that you're going to get at least 10 to 12 out of the 15 marks because you've followed this process, you've checked your work, and you know that you're pretty confident those answers are going to be the correct ones. But if you don't follow this system and you just fill in answers without looking at the sentence, the neighboring words, the context of the passage, you don't highlight the contextual clues, then you are very prone to make careless mistakes, okay? So I want to emphasize again to everybody, use these 5 steps, use your contextual clues, all right? Identify them and make sure that they are all properly, highlighted, colored in. Some of you have a tendency to highlight after you do your work. Well, you know what I say about that, right? Okay, it's kind of defeating the purpose of it. When you're doing highlighting, drawing arrows, making connections, helps you to identify the missing word, which you then write in. Then you check later on by looking at your highlights and your arrows to confirm that it is the correct answer, right? In the sentence and in the passage. Read it back to yourself, okay? Now, so let's review again. These are the 5 steps, okay? At this point in time, right? Okay. All right, so there's some discussion about some possibilities. Okay, let's leave that aside for now because we don't have time. I promised you I wanted to end by 11 o'clock. So that was just a sample. We've covered that last year. So I'm going to go into a new passage now. Before I go into the new passage, let's look at these 5 steps again. Okay? Chun Hong, the word jargon is spelled correctly. You are the one that has spelled it wrongly. Jargon is O and not A-N, alright? Okay, so the context of a passage, what is the passage about? Okay, so remember when you know what the passage is about, right? You're able to kind of identify what are the technical words, the jargon, right? That will appear in the words, okay? Right, so that will appear in the passage. So knowing the context of the passage is very important, right? If this passage is about, say, cars, then you'll be expecting words related to cars and engines and, races that will appear in the word. So context of the passage, very important. Clues in each sentence, right? What is missing in that sentence, okay, is very important as well, all right? Neighboring words, what's next to the missing words, that's also important, like we talked about just now. Sentence meaning, does my answer fit into the sentence? That's also important. And finally, does my answer fit into the entire passage, right? So if the context of the passage is cars, my answer should be related to that in some way. Okay? Right. So let's now move on. All right. Let's leave the word jargon aside. I've already explained. It's spelled with an O. Let's leave it aside. It's okay. Let's not continue on with that messaging. And let's focus on the lesson. So now we're going to go into a brand new closed passage. The topic is on Florence Nightingale. All right, so if you're familiar, Florence Nightingale was a very famous woman who pioneered nursing, right, back in the 19th century. All right, so we're going to be reading a little bit about her, and we're going to be completing a closed passage. Okay, and I want us to keep these 5 steps in mind: context, clues, neighboring words, sentence meaning, passage meaning. I want us to keep this in mind as we do it, all right? Okay, so let's go ahead. Okay, so let's take a look, all right, at this. Okay, I don't want us to enter in the answers yet until I have given you the explanations, then we can give it a try, okay? We can give it a try together. So Florence Nightingale entered the hospital, okay? So we can see here that this story takes place in a hospital, all right? Where is this hospital? We'll find out later, okay? The next paragraph will tell us, but it's a hospital, and the first blank is right there, okay? And she was what? By what she saw. So something that she saw made her feel something, all right? So this word was here is a verb, right? So was something by what she saw. Can you see here that this is a past perfect form? Okay, past perfect form. So was, I'm sorry, not past perfect, was is a past form, and this here is describing what she saw, right? So was something, right? Was something. Was and a participle here, actually a past participle, right? So this word here is informed by what she saw. Wounded soldiers, floor covered, right? Dirt and blood. Okay, so all these things here tell me that she was horrified, okay? So here in this case, right, is an adjective next to a past tense form of the word was, okay, horrified. Horrified. She was horrified by what she saw. Okay? Shocked, accepted, yes, very good, right? I wouldn't accept the word surprised because remember this is an extremely negative image. All right? So we find that shocked is not acceptable. But shocked is acceptable, I apologize, but surprised is not acceptable, all right? Yeah, that's right. Okay. So, wounded soldiers lay on straw mats that line the room, okay, like coffins waiting for burial. Okay, so again, this word coffins is obviously not what they're actually lying in, but it's compared to a coffin. The straw mats are compared to coffins, so they are like coffins, okay? So the preposition here is telling me that they are compared to the coffins, the straw mats, compared to coffins. Okay, so like. Next, the floor was covered with dirt, and here is where the past perfect actually is. All right, so I apologize, that was a mistake earlier in number 1. This is where the past perfect is, was covered. Okay, so the word covered here is linked to dirt and blood, right? So the floor was covered with dirt and blood. So covered here is a past participle that is linked to the verb was covered with dirt and blood. Okay, then the men still wore their uniform, right? As there were no hospital gowns. So uniforms are still being worn by the men. So the men, their uniform, their refers to the plural form of the noun men, right? And it signifies belonging of the uniform to the men, all right? And finally, Florence could see the pain in their faces or eyes, okay? Because here, this word there is a possessive pronoun that tells me that something belongs to something else. So this has to be a noun because it's something that belongs to the men. The pain in their eyes or faces belongs to them. Okay, let's see what some of your answers are. Okay. Okay, no worries, Jancis. I'm glad you can make it now. All right, we're talking about closed passages. Okay, let's see. Horrified is correct. Like is correct. Covered is correct. Yes. There is correct. Okay, faces. Yes. Okay, very good. Is Mr. Pang going too quickly? Would you like me to slow down so I can evaluate your answers? Or is my pace okay? Let me know on the chat group. Okay, all right. Okay, great. So I will go along at this speed. All right, I think everybody seems to be all right with that. Let me just check in. All right, great. I have about 18 of you watching right now. Okay, so I'm going to go through this quite quickly because the point of this is that I want us to look at the context of the passage, the clues in each sentence, the neighboring words that help us to find the correct answer, and then the checking with the sentence, okay, and the passage meaning, all right, that helps us to determine. So let me just take question number 1 as an example, all right. Some of you actually put surprised as the answer, and I told you that I didn't accept it, all right. I hope you understand why. Because in this case, what she saw were wounded soldiers and, you know, dirt and blood on the floor. So it was very traumatic, right? It was very negative. So when I want to describe what I saw with an adjective, I can't use surprised because surprised is neutral, right? You're surprised by a birthday party. You're surprised by a sudden event that occurs, but you're not surprised by, you know, all these horrific things that you see, right? You're horrified, or, you know, you're shocked, right? Shocked and horrified carries a negative, a strong, more negative connotation or idea. So you cannot put the word surprise, but you can use the word horrified or shocked. I will accept both those answers because they carry a more negative sense. How do I get this negative sense? From the context of the passage. So again, context, number 1, is important because when I read the passage, I understand that it's a horrible thing she's seeing. So I can't use a neutral word. Okay, enough of that. Let's move on to the next section. All right, are we all ready? Okay, oh, who is this? Will sadden be an acceptable answer? Well, in this case, no. Saddened implies the idea of something being sad, right? You're saddened means something is sad. While it is true that it is sad that soldiers are wounded, it is not sufficiently strong enough a word to describe what she sees, right? So it's, you know, imagine the scene that is before her. It's not that she's sad, it's more like she's shocked and horrified by the conditions that the soldiers are in. So no, I would not accept the word saddened because saddened only has that emotion of, you know, being sad and you know, feeling sympathy. But it's more than that. In this case, it's really quite a horrific scene. So the word horrified or shocked would be more accurate in describing. Okay, but good question anyway. I'm sorry, who is this? Who is Irene Pua? Can you identify yourself? And tell me if I managed to explain it to your satisfaction, okay? Ah, it's Brandon. All right. Okay, great. Thank you, Cheryl, for telling me that. Okay, now let's move on to the next section. It's 10:32. I am a little bit behind, so let me speed up a little bit, okay? Like I said, aim to finish by 11 o'clock, okay? Such were the conditions of hospitals in Turkey during the Crimean War, okay? Florence and a group of nurses were what to this hospital? So again, something is dealing with Florence and a group of nurses, right? They were what to this hospital, right? So they were obviously not in this hospital. They had just arrived, right? So earlier we talked about how she entered it and was horrified by what she saw. So they had just arrived. So they were what? What carries the idea of being moved, okay, in order to make this hospital more efficient. All right. So what do y'all think about question number 6? Right? So just a hint, it's a past perfect form, were something. Very good, Jancis. I like the word dispatched. It's nice. Okay, Chloe, very good. Sent. I like that you're all using the correct verb form, the past perfect form. Transferred, yes, Shaden. But the word transferred has double R. Be very careful of your spelling, Shaden, because you have the right word but the wrong spelling, and you will be penalized for that too. Okay, so be very careful of your spelling. Transferred. Remember, the spelling rule we learned was that when a vowel and a consonant end a word, the consonant is doubled, right? So transfer, the ER are a vowel and consonant pair, therefore we double the consonant. All right, so this is something for you to remember, Shaden. All right. Let's see, change. Can we not move to the other questions yet? We are now at question 6. Let's all be at question 6. So, Jaxif, please. Jancis, hold on. Let's all look at question 6. Let's do it all together, okay? So, my fault, I didn't make that rule clear, but can we all do this question by question together? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I hope I've explained, Shaden, to your satisfaction that the word transferred is spelled wrongly because you forgot the spelling rule that we covered in class. The vowel and consonant ending a word, the consonant must be doubled. Okay, so it must be in the past tense as well, transferred. Okay, so yes, all of you are correct. Sent, transferred, dispatched, I will accept them all. Okay, changed, no, I do not accept it. It is in the wrong form anyway. Okay, they were not changed to this hospital. They were transferred, assigned, yes. Okay, Chun Hong, I'll accept that as well. Okay, very good. So there are a whole range of answers. Transferred, sent, not brought. I wouldn't accept brought because they were not brought. They were not fetched. They were sent, right? Okay, so the word brought carries the idea that they were, fetched from somewhere else. No. So they were sent or dispatched or assigned or transferred to this. Okay, right, very good. Wonderful. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so question 7 now. Let's try question 7. All right, so it was a more efficient. So a more efficient. A more efficient. So remember, is an article. More efficient. More efficient is describing the noun, right? So it's an adjective phrase. A more efficient? Yes, that's right. Okay. I wouldn't use the word one. I would use the word place. Why? Because the hospital is a place. Alright? So to substitute the word hospital, I would use the word place. Right? It's a more, yes, wonderful, right? Okay, so you're all absolutely right. Okay, it is to make the hospital a more efficient place, and it's a noun, right? Because a more efficient is describing a noun. The article and the adjective phrase describe the noun. So can you see the power of the neighboring word, right? The power of the neighboring word. If you consider the neighboring word and you consider the sentence in its totality, you'll find that you seldom go wrong, right? Florence and a group of nurses were sent to this hospital to help make it a more efficient place. What did I just do? I just read the entire sentence with my answer out loud, and then I used my ears to evaluate whether my answers fit in to the sentence. And that is point 4, sentence meaning, right? When I read it out, I listen to the sentence, it's correct. So high chance that the answer is correct. Then I look at neighboring words, I look at the context, the missing type of word. All these 5 steps help me to ensure my answer is correct. Okay, so next one, number 8. Okay, let's try number 8 now, everyone. Okay, so the first thing Florence did was to wipe all the injured man's clothes. Okay, so what did she do with their clothes? What do you think she did in order to make the hospital a better place? Oh, really? 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 Are you sure it's change? How would she have done that? Do you think it's a possibility? Could she have done that? Really? Replace? Change? Really? Where would she have gotten these clothes? Remember, they did not have, right, earlier, right? Let me bring you back to the earlier slide. Remember, they were in their uniforms because there were no hospital gowns. There were none. There were no hospital gowns. So where would she have gotten clothes to replace or change? So that is not possible. Okay, so all of you are wrong. All right? There you go. Yep. You are more on track now, all right? You're more on track now. Jack says you don't want them to be naked, right? Okay, so you can't say that you remove their clothes. Okay, so that doesn't make any sense. And the word clean is not accurate because how do you clean? How do you clean? You've got to wash, right? You've got to wash the clothes. You don't clean the clothes, you wash clothes. Does your mother clean your clothes or does your mother wash your clothes? She washes it, right? So the word here is wash, okay? And why is it in its base form? Because over here, can you see the word to? We learned this, right? The to controls the verb form that appears after it. So therefore, you are all now correct. It is to wash, all right? It's a to verb over here. The to controls the verb form. And again, if you are alert and you notice the word to, you will know that this next word is a verb. And you will also know that this next verb is in its base form, all right? And if you know that it's clothes and there are no replacements, you will know that it is to wash all of the injured man's clothes because there are no hospital gowns, there are no spare clothes, they are still in their uniforms because there's no way that they can replace those clothes. So they have to wash them, okay? And of course, let's move on, okay? Using her, this is pretty easy, all right? Let's try number 9 now, okay? So this is obviously an adjective that's describing the word money and related to her, right? So neighboring words, her and money. So it's her money, right? So it's her what money? Yes. Right, so pretty easy. This is an adjective, her own money. Whose money? It's her own money. The money is belonging to Florence Nightingale. Okay, very good. So most of you will get this answer correct. Okay, it is indeed her own money. Okay. And number 10, I've given you a hint. Right, let's move on to number 10. It's a gerund, functioning as a noun. Okay, so She bought bandages, operating tables, and other necessities for the hospital. So Florence Nightingale bought these things using her own money. The nurses cleaned the hospital so that there were no more germs, and this helped to stop contamination. Contamination means like infection from germs, contamination, and the what of disease. Okay, so what does disease do that is bad? It's a gerund. Okay, it's a gerund. If I want a gerund, what form should it take? Yes, yes, I agree with you that it can take a base form spread. But if I want a gerund, it should be spreading, right? Because spreading is the ing form of the gerund that functions as a noun. Okay, so in this case, spread and spreading are both acceptable. Okay, but if I specify that I want a gerund, then you should be able to tell me that it's in the ing form, because gerunds take on the suffix ing to become a noun, right? So spread becomes spreading. So the nurses cleaned the hospital so there were no more germs, and this helped to stop contamination and the spreading of disease, or the spread of disease. Both function perfectly well here because this is a gap for a noun. How do I know it's a noun? The article the. Right here, the article the tells me this is a noun. So if you highlight, okay, if you draw arrows, right, then you kind of will see something like this happening. And this is really, like I say, very important, because if you do this, then what will happen is you will be able to very quickly spot, okay, what are the answers. So spread, this is the clue here, okay, it's a more efficient place over here, right? So wash all of the to wash is the clue that tells me it's a verb, all right? Then her own money, these are the clues, okay? And then the spread of diseases. So again here, the is the article that tells me this is actually a noun, okay, and not a verb. So if I look at all my highlights and my arrows, this helps me to confirm that my answer is correct. And I cannot emphasize enough, all good English readers, speakers, and writers practice using contextual clues in order to help them minimize careless mistakes, okay? You don't have to be good in English to pick this up as a habit, but it will help you to improve in your English language, especially in closed passages, okay? So please try not to abandon annotations, highlightings, contextual clues, because it really does help you, and it's helped me, right, in my own English as well. So if you think that Mr. Phang is pretty good in English, then you will have to know that it's because I practice this kind of annotation that I minimize my errors. I do make mistakes, as you will all probably know, and some of the mistakes I make are on purpose, but if I use the annotations, I minimize those mistakes, okay? Right? Okay, let's move on to the next section, the last one, yay! Okay, Alright, okay, so let's look at 11. Okay, Florence, who came from the upper class, was hailed as a heroine because she changed the hospital and saved lives with her determination and heart. Okay, so this is an adjective. So therefore, it is describing something here that is a noun. Remember, adjectives and nouns are related, right? So this is a noun. Her heart, okay, let's hear. Yes, 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 pretty straightforward, right? So her heart worked. So again, this is the adjective that informs me this is the word work, and it is a noun. Absolutely right, okay? Her family disapproved of her what? To take up the nursing profession. So they disapproved of her something. So this is another noun, okay? Her is a possessive pronoun. So this thing belongs to her. So what was it that belonged to her that her family disapproved of? Okay, about taking up the nursing profession. So what did she decide to do, right? Okay, very good. So it is a noun. And in this case, it is a verb decide that has taken on the suffix ion to become a noun. Okay? So her family disapproved of her decision to take up the nursing profession. Okay, so it is decision and not ambition, because it is her ambition to be a nurse, but to take up the nursing profession is a decision. Okay, so Jacksith, I do not accept ambition. Sitting, I do not accept ambition. It's wrong, because taking up the nursing profession is a decision you make, whereas to be a nurse is an ambition. Okay, so this is not the ambition, it's the decision. Okay, so yes, it is a noun, it's a decision to take up the nursing profession. Very good. And of course, question 13, let's give it a try, which was what at that time as a vocation or as a job for lower classes. So what was it viewed as? Okay, so the idea is that it was viewed as a job only for the lower classes. So what is a word that has the same idea as viewed as? Okay, so this is actually a part of a past perfect verb phrase right here. So let me be very, very clear. Most of you have gotten it wrong. Okay, so it was what at that time as a vocation for lower classes. Okay, was something. This is a verb phrase in the past perfect form. Okay, right? I would not use the word classified, because the word classify is a scientific term. And in this case, the people who are looking at the nursing profession are not scientists, so they didn't classify. I wouldn't use the word classify because it's too technical. Very good. Yes, considered, I would agree, is a possible answer, but a simpler answer than considered. What do you think? If let's say I cannot remember how to spell considered, what would be a simpler answer I can use? Okay, let's do this very quickly. I have an eye on the clock. It's 10:45. Okay, let me give you a simpler answer. Okay, considered, but seen is an even simpler answer, which was seen at that time as a vocation for lower classes. It was seen or viewed at that time as a vocation. So it's like you look at it and you think, it's only for the lower classes. Okay, so it was considered. If you want something simpler, you cannot spell the word considered. Seen or viewed at that time as a vocation for lower classes. Now, 14. Okay. However, she was not deterred, and after studying nursing for 9 years, she what? After studying for 9 years, she what her journey? Okay, so this is a verb because it's linking the noun she with the noun her journey. So subject she, verb, and then her journey, object. So this verb is acting on this object, her journey. So what verb is this? After studying for 9 years, right? Yes. I wouldn't use the word continued because before this she was not a nurse, right? She had not yet become a nurse. She was studying to be a nurse. She studied nursing for 9 years. So before this she was not yet a nurse. So she cannot have continued. Continued would be wrong. Oh, hello Ashton. Okay? So I wouldn't use the word continued. So you see, you guys are making mistakes because you're not considering the context of the passage. Always go back to what the passage is saying. Many mistakes you are making is because you are not considering what the passage is saying. You have an idea in your head and you just force fit that idea. Remember, the passage dictates the answer, not you. So you have to kind of be very alert to what the passage is saying. Okay, started or began is what I would accept. Okay? No, 14, I'm not at 15 yet. Jacksith, please, for the 5th time today, do not go ahead of me. Thank you. Okay, So again, let me explain that I do not accept continued because before the studying for nursing, she was not yet a nurse. So after studying for 9 years, she began her journey, or she started her journey of caring for the sick. Okay, so the answer is began. All right. And all right, finally, question 50 is a verb, right? Everywhere she went, she okay, so something to do with improvements. So again here, you'll see that she is the subject. This is the object. She did something to the improvements. This is the verb. So this verb acts on the word improvement. She what improvements? She what improvements? That included better organization. So what did she? Right, very good. She made improvements. Wonderful. She made improvements, or she introduced improvements. Okay, made. Wonderful. Yes, that's correct. Okay, yes. All right, good. So this, in a nutshell, is how I would work through a comprehension cloze passage. Okay, so let me go through this one more time. Context of the passage, always read all the highlighted words that are in orange, always read them because they're related to the answer and they control what kind of answer I can fit in. All right, the clues and neighboring words help me to further narrow down the choice of words that I have. Right, they tell me, for example, whether it's a verb or a noun, whether it's in the past tense or the perfect tense, and what is the fit of that word in the sentence. I got to read it out to myself just to double check that it fits into the sentence and it doesn't sound out of place. Okay, so if you apply these 5 steps, you're reasonably safe in your comprehension cloze. All right, this leaves me with about 5 minutes, which I think is too short. So I shall not go into the comprehension component. I will set the comprehension component as a separate video for all of you to view tomorrow. I'll post it tomorrow, and I may bring you to the lab and you may listen to it before you attempt an exercise related to both the cloze and the comprehension open-ended questions. Okay, I'll be using this same passage for the comprehension open-ended questions. All right, I'll just have 4 questions for you to answer, but we'll do this tomorrow because we are out of time, and I did promise that I would end before 11. Okay, so before I go and before we end the session, do you all have any questions? Any alternative answers that you would like to check with me about questions 1 to 15 of this cloze? Or you're not sure about why certain answers were accepted and others were not? You are very welcome to check with me, and I will clarify. Okay, great. All right. I hope that you all have been very conscious of the mistakes that you are making, right? Because your mistakes are very good in a sense that they reveal to you what you're missing. Okay, why you made that mistake, how I explained it, how you can prevent that from happening again is very important. Okay, so learn from your mistakes, pick up whichever one of these 5 pointers you need to pay even more attention to, and try to be very conscious in applying context, clues, neighboring words, sentence meanings, passage meanings to each and every one of your answers. And you will realize this requires you to annotate, or rather to highlight and to make connections. Okay, so the 2 main things that I would like you all to do, you can remove all the rest of the annotations, is 1, highlight the clues, the keywords that narrow down your answers. 2, draw arrows to connect them to the specific blanks so that they inform your choice of answer, and you can use them to check that your answer fits into the context of that sentence. Okay, closed passages are challenging because they're open and there are no helping words. But if you use these 5 clues, then it will help you to narrow down the types and numbers of words that you can choose to fit into that blank. And most of the time, PSLE and examination passages are structured such that there is only 1 or at most 2 possible answers. So if you look at the clues and if you use the clues, it will lead you very naturally to that 1 or 2 answers that you can fit into that blank. Okay, I hope this has been helpful, and if there are no further questions, thank you all. It's 10:55. Enjoy the rest of your day, have fun, If you need any more help in any of the other sections, message me, and I will try my very best to either do another video or pass you some resources related to these sections. Okay, I hope this has made you a little bit more confident when you're approaching your close passages. All right, I'll be posting the answers to the 2015 paper by tomorrow, so we can review it and we can finish that final practice paper. And then on Wednesday, we'll do one final CA2 practice paper just by way of warm-up before the CA2s, and we'll take some time during lessons to review it. Okay? Right? Have a good day, everybody. Enjoy your holiday. Take the rest of the day easy, relax, have some fun. All right? I think you've done more than enough by way of review through this video. All right? Bye. Bye.